Hey, welcome everybody to the DataON virtual meetup, and this is the Ignite edition. For those people that have not attended Ignite before, I apologize. You can't get a feel of the live event because of all the challenges we face in this world. But no, we're gonna try to make this time engagement more lively. So everybody, couple housekeeping. If you feel comfortable, put your camera on. We want all these people to see each other. We don't get to see each other during this difficult time, so let's get to say hi to each other. Happy to be here today. Ignite Virtual just finished last couple days. We have John Marlin here. We have Hero, the first time coming. My God, Hero, I'm not sure after today you'll ever come again because it should be too crazy.
Hi, folks.
and we have Jeff Woolsey here. The goal today is, first of all, I want to ask the Microsoft and Jeff to do a quick recap of what are the top things that you want our audience, your customer, Microsoft customer, to know about what happened at Ignite. That's number one. Number two, we want to engage and ask questions. If you look across, we have a lot of giveaway. We have a lot of T-shirts that we want to give away. We have a swag box sponsored by Western Digital, Intel, and Mellanox. We have a bag. I have all these Starbucks cards. Last year at Ignite, I was flipping Starbucks card to everybody that's in front of me. So I'm gonna try to do it and just flip it at you. And if you ask a question, you'll get a Starbucks card. As simple as that, right? We're gonna try to give you that way. I want to share a picture of what I really miss. And let me see here. This is what I miss, guys. I really miss this. Last Ignite was crazy, and Jeff, thanks for holding me up last time. I almost fell on my ass holding that bike last year. Thanks for keeping me up there because it would have been disastrous if I fell. So thank you for holding me up. So we can't have this environment, but let's have a good virtual meetup and just engage, talk, and ask questions. And there's a lot of exciting stuff that's coming that Microsoft is announcing and more coming. So let's have that. So without further ado, welcome to the DataON virtual meetup. Welcome Hero, welcome John Marlin from Microsoft, and welcome Jeff. So Jeff, if you don't mind, can you give us a quick recap on what happened last couple of days that's exciting that our customer and your customer should know?
Thank you, Howard. So yeah, that picture you just showed, I miss that too. I miss being there with you guys, working together hand in hand with our valued customers and the energy of 30,000 plus people at Ignite. So definitely share that with you. At the same time, we've been working like mad. We've been working like crazy, obviously, to help our customers through the situation we're going through right now with COVID. We know remote work is very top of mind. We've been working with education. We've been working with different organizations just to help make sure that remote work is doing great. At the same time, we know that at Microsoft, we can't stop. We've got to keep our foot down the pedal to the metal. So I've been working on a variety of different technologies. And just to be clear, I'm only going to speak from a very small part of Microsoft. We're a huge organization. I would definitely recommend people take a look at what the folks in Office have been doing. Teams has been doing. SQL's been doing. I mean, there's AI, ML. I mean, there's so much that I can't cover, many days of Ignite. But from our little corner of the world, what I would tell you is the investments we've been making in hybrid cloud and the investments we've been making in delivering seamless hybrid connectivity and delivering, making sure that people can, plug their stuff from on-premises into the cloud. That innovation crank is turning as fast as ever, and it's going really, really well. So one of the things that we announced, I'm going to start with from the cloud and kind of move down really quick. We announced something called Auto Manage, and Auto Manage is basically this way to intelligently. Oh, sorry, I thought someone was saying something. Auto Manage is this way to basically intelligently onboard things to your virtual machines running in Azure. We know as people move VMs up into Azure IaaS, there's a bunch of things they want to deal with, like backing up and securing and monitoring and updating. And generally, people will attach services to VMs. And what we've done is made it really easy. If you know that you're going to secure and monitor and update and backup, guess what? You can just say with the click of a single click, I'm going to go ahead and auto manage all of those VMs as you bring them on. So It allows Azure to do that. So auto manage is something really huge. At the same time, the work that we've been doing on premises, for example, with Admin Center, has been tremendous. And in fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to easily kind of show this. If you don't mind, can I share a single slide? Is that okay to do in a virtual meetup? Just to show you, give you an idea of what we've been doing. So we released,
Absolutely.
of course, a new version of Admin. Thanks, Howard. Here's a new version of Admin Center v2009, and I promise this is the only slide I will show because virtual meetups, this is not about slides. But this was the only way I could give you guys kind of the idea of the breadth of this release of Admin Center. So 3 years ago, we released Admin Center, and in fact, back then it was called Project Honolulu, which is why I'm wearing my DataON Honolulu shirt, by the way. And Honolulu was, this brand new way to manage your servers. And at the time, it had a handful of tools, but we really signaled the industry. We signaled our partners at DataON. We said, guys, this is the future. This is where we are building all of our investments for GUI-based management for Windows Server. That's all happening here. Okay, so don't bother looking in server. You're not going to find it. And so now we're here 3 years later. And we have, a massive list of tools in Admin Center. We have a scroll bar. We have fantastic plugins like DataON's MUST tool. We have hybrid capabilities. Well, with Admin Center v2009, straight off the bat, we added a whole bunch of stuff for the core management tools. So virtualization, the VM tool for Hyper-V management in Admin Center v2009 is awesome. So now we've added so many features in the VM tool that we realized that we needed to give it a whole new menuing system. So when you go into the VM tool, you're going to see we've got an actual menu system. We have an action bar which been logically laid out with all of the capabilities here. We have a whole bunch of performance improvements. And by the way, many more are still on the way, but there's additional performance improvements. Live storage migration is now in the VM tool. So last year we added live migration, which means I can live migrate to us between servers. I can live migrate into a cluster. I can live migrate out of a cluster. Now we also have live storage migration. So you can move your storage around if you need to move to a new disk that you just plugged into your DataON system, or you just upgraded some systems because Howard just sent you some brand new flash storage. Guess what? You can now live storage migrate it and it all just works, and that's it there. We also have now affinity and anti-affinity rules for clustering. So that's something that's built in. And again, this is something that's never been in like Hyper-V Manager. This has never been there before. This is now just part and parcel built in Admin Center. You can manage any VM using the Windows Admin Center tools. So we've made it easier for VMs that you may not have added to the actual Admin Center list to be able to manage it right there through Admin Center. We also have the ability to join a domain. And so what I mean by that is you've got a VM and you've installed the OS, but you haven't joined it to the domain yet. Well, normally you'd have to RDP into the system or run some PowerShell, or you can actually click on the join a domain button, type in your creds, add the creds for the domain creds, and it will automatically do it for you at the Admin Center level without having to RDP into the VM. So that's a super cool new feature. And of course, we've added VM clones. We added that in the last release, but we did some additional performance improvements for that as well. So that is just the Hyper-V tool. And we know that, most people spend a lot of time there. It's the #1 tool for Admin Center. It's the one where people live and breathe. I know for me, I spend a heck of a lot of time there. So I've been excited about this because we redesigned this quite a while ago, and we've been fine tuning to figure out how exactly we were going to do this, and man, it looks great. Love it. Another tool that people obviously use is file shares. So if you're using Windows Server, file sharing and storage is obviously something people do. Well, we've actually improved the file shares tool. All of the files and all of the file share actions now are in a single tool. It makes it easier, and you're going to see more things happening there as well over time. We're making some great investments there, but we've already done that as well. The containers tool has some new capabilities, especially for the ability, again, to point at existing applications. So as you're modernizing and you're using your new hyper-converged systems, people are modernizing, taking their old apps running off old hardware, and they want to run it in a container. We make it easier to actually create the container, actually create the Docker file and do all of that for you. That's built into Admin Center. We added some nice splashy colors. So the icons are colorful. So there's some nice color changes in there. It's subtle, but I think it's just nice to have that. Of course, we have new partner extensions. Huge thank you to all of our partners, and of course, the DataON MUST tool has been updated as well. So that's just what we've done from the core management tools. But then we went even further. So we've also introduced in Admin Center, we introduced the ability to do clustered deployments, and we've now added even more there. So we can now do SDN deployment is now part of the cluster deployment, and you can exclude and include specific adapters for cluster networking. So again, as part of that easy to use workflow, we've incorporated some more changes and improvements there, as well as around cluster aware updates. So now we come to something completely brand new. And this was a huge part of the Ignite announcement this week, which is, again, something I've already been hinting at, which is containers. So in Azure, we have this thing called the Azure Kubernetes service, and AKS is the fastest growing service in Azure. It's growing like wildfire. And basically what it means is we manage the Kubernetes. You don't have to set it up. You don't have to deal with lifecycle management. You don't have to deal with how do I patch it or how to keep it up to date or how do I scale it or any of that stuff. You just publish your containers to the AKS service and we handle the rest. And that's awesome for people that are building new apps or modernizing their apps. But guess what? We've had this very loud drumbeat of people going, hey, that's really awesome. We love this, but we want this on-prem, okay? We know that there are apps that are going to continue to run on-prem for the foreseeable future. And more importantly, we want that on-prem application to look just like that one I just deployed in Azure Kubernetes Service. So what we have released now is the AKS, the Azure Kubernetes Service for Azure Stack HCI, and that's in preview, okay? What this allows you to do is now we're taking, think of that easy to use wizard we did for cluster management. We took something that can be really challenging. The guys at DataON make it really, really easy, but we're taking a really challenging end-to-end process and making it easy. If you've ever set up Kube, not exactly the easiest thing to do. How do you manage the lifecycle? How do you patch it? How do you secure it? How do you deal with a bunch of those things? Well, guess what? It's just built in Admin Center. So what we will do is you basically, through Admin Center does all the deployment. It will download all the bits, it will install, it will configure the cluster. You just basically fill out a form and walk through a wizard and boom, you got Kube on-prem. And it's real Kube. It's not some Microsoft Kube. No, it's standard Kubernetes class. It's Kubernetes conformant. So it's the same Kube that everybody else is using. So all your devs will be thrilled because it's just Kube. It's what they speak. And it's the same thing we're using, it's Kube that we're using in Azure. So now as people build their applications and they go, hey, you know what, I got to deploy these. I mean, I bought a whole bunch of 2-node DataONs for my branch offices, for my distributed applications. Well, I'm using Kubernetes. Well, guess what? Guess you can now just deploy this with AKS on Azure Stack HCI. And so it's optimized for Azure Stack HCI. We're doing all of the work, all of the lifecycle management. When a new version of Kube comes out, guess what? You just get a little note that says, yeah, we updated your Kube. Done. Okay, talk to someone who actually has a Kube cluster, who set this up, who's managed it, who's had to patch it, who's had to deal with all of the infrastructure management. It's not fun. And we're basically saying, no, we got that covered. We got that covered. You're running on Azure Stack HCI, you're good. And of course, this all integrates with Arc. So again, think about this. You've deployed stuff in the cloud. You've just deployed stuff across your estate on premises in a variety of different locations, and you actually want to see the health and performance and the monitoring of all of your apps. Well, guess what? Because it's integrated with Arc, I can see all of my Kubernetes deployments as well. So that's in public preview. That's at aka.ms/AKS on HCI. And then the very last thing, and I will pass it back to Howard here, is Admin Center in the Azure portal. So this is an interesting one because I get two responses to this one. I get, yay, this is awesome. And I get I don't understand why you did this. So let me explain it real quickly. So as people have been using Admin Center, and we got millions and millions of servers under management now with Admin Center, a lot of folks are saying, look, this is my day-to-day tool. You're making it even better. I get it, Microsoft. You're doing all this investment. I love it. We are, I spoke to two customers at last Ignite in Florida that were managing, I'm not kidding, over 25,000 servers with Admin Center. And they were like, this is the best tool Microsoft has ever made, bar none. Oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. And we can't believe that you're giving this away. We're like, well, yeah, it's how it works. And so people were using this on-prem, and guess what? They're like, you know what? When we go to Azure, I'd like to be able to use that same tool. And the reason why is because Azure Portal does a bunch of things, but Admin Center does some things that are complementary to Azure. And so now we have this button in the Azure Portal that will launch Admin Center. It actually installs as an extension inside of the VM. And what this means is you can now use those familiar tools that you're used to on-prem in Azure. And the nice thing about it is one of the top reasons, it sounds kind of weird, but it's actually to RDP into the VM. And here's why. Today, if you're in an Azure IaaS VM, you click on the Connect button. What happens is it downloads an RDP file to your machine. Okay, and then it runs a local, RDP client on your local machine. We've had folks that say, you know what, that's great for some systems, but you know what, some cases we actually we want it to run in the browser itself. So with Admin Center, you can just click on the remote desktop button and you now have an inline RDP client. And so there is your RDP client in a web browser, along with the other tools like certificates and events and other things like that, but right there in a web browser to manage your Windows servers. So this is available for 2016 and Windows Server 2019 VMs running in Azure IaaS, and it's covered by Azure support. And we just keep it up to date for you. So this is, a good example of the major investments we made this week. Obviously, the AKS on Azure Stack HCI is really, really huge, and the Admin Center and the Azure Arc integration to go with that. Because as I've been saying it. Well, I started saying it quietly, and I'm getting louder about this. Is the whole point really is really simple. Is as you deploy new servers, what you have told us is you want your servers on premises to just participate in the cloud. Okay, as you deploy more data on servers, we just want that to be part of the Azure ecosystem. Okay, we don't want you to even have to think of it as, well, I got my on-prem stuff and I got my cloud stuff. We want you to think of it as, no, it's just your stuff. And by the way, you want to deploy, apps on-prem, you want to deploy apps in the cloud, we got you covered in any case. And by the way, the tools are consistent, the containers are consistent, the kube is consistent, we got you covered. So that's one little update from where we live in our side of the world. Thank you much, Howard, for indulging me.
That's incredible. It's a lot of new stuff coming up. It's a lot of questions. But before we go there, remember we're at a virtual Ignite event. So you guys all see this. This is a DataON T-shirt, right? This is an awesome shirt from DataON. Just like any event, if you want one of these, I'm not going to make it difficult. All you do is go on the chat, say, I want one, and put your email there, and we will respond to you and ship you a shirt. That's it, guys, nothing difficult. So if you want a DataON shirt that's Azure Stack HCI, all you do is, I want one, with your email, you got one, just like any event. Done. Okay, so simple. John, you want one? So free T-shirt. Oh, look at that. Everybody wants a T-shirt. Now,
who doesn't want a T-shirt? Come on.
Okay, now we're gonna do some Starbucks giveaways. Whoever asks questions will get a Starbucks giveaway. It's very simple. So there's some, you could just raise your hand and start talking, ask some questions, and then we could have a virtual discussion on it. Any first question, anybody?
Everybody's too busy getting in their free T-shirts. That's really awesome, Howard. Huge thank you to the team for that. That's really cool.
Any questions for Microsoft? Got to have a lot of questions out there.
Hey, Jeff, this is Bronson.
Hey, Bronson.
The Windows Admin Center in Azure, when you click the button, does it provision a Windows Admin Center instance in one of your existing virtual machines, or does it use some sort of compute run space that's not part of your IaaS setup?
It's actually provisioning the Admin Center as an extension inside of that VM. So there's no additional cost. It's not provisioning anything additional. It's running in the VM.
All right, so we have to be aware of any virtual machines that might be utilizing https.sys for some other function, not do it on that virtual machine.
Always Bronson asking the tough questions.
No, that's a great question.
So I think I can.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the
address
answer.
Bronson, it's hosting it on a completely different port than what, like, your scenario would be valid if you're using IaaS on the random port that they're deploying the module as, which is some random number in the 8,000s. I don't think you'll run into that conflict, but to piggyback on your statement, it's probably best to know what you're actually putting on your VMs before you start clicking extensions.
Yeah,
like
so it's an instance of WAC per virtual machine then that you're managing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we are looking at different ways to deploy it. We're looking at other options. We went with this because we thought it would be the lightest weight in terms of the actual deployment. We didn't, this can easily, get crazy with firewalls and all sorts of different things, but we know that there are people that are interested in different deployment options. So we're going to look at that. That's part of the reason why it's in preview, quite honestly, is to get that kind of feedback and figure out, what are the deployment options that make sense.
Can you put WAC in a container?
WAC, yes, you can run WAC in a container. We haven't provided it as a container at this time, but it is something that it's another deployment option we're looking at.
Yeah, it seems like if you just want a temporary instance of WAC to do a quick management of an Azure VM, firing up a container, using it, and throwing it away would be the way to go.
There are other
so
challenges,
Bronson,
but yes.
For that, you get a Starbucks card, but Ernie, for you answering the question, you get a tequila Patron from me.
Ooh, nice,
just
done.
for you. I'm gonna send you a Costco tequila Patron just for answering that question. Okay, I know you want that. I know you don't care about
there
Starbucks
you go,
card.
Ernie.
I know when I give you tequila, you want it.
I'm sweaty. I don't even have sleeves on right now. I'm trying to feel like it's New Orleans, that I'm walking around in a swamp.
All right, thanks, Martha. Thanks, Ernie. Next question. We have a lot of questions. Go ahead.
I see one in the chat window that I'm going to go ahead and ask. Will WAC eventually replace SCVMM? This is one of those common ones that I'm going to continue to answer again and again. WAC and SCVMM are complementary, and they are still that, and they are continue to be that. So the way I kind of look at it is, if you need to live in a world that is completely disconnected, if you need to live in that world that is network isolated, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to use the power of Azure there. So you're not going to be able to do monitoring, and there's a bunch of things that we rely on Azure for. And so System Center continues to be the way to do that. If you need to do things like operations management, and you need to do data center VM management, there are things that SCVM will do. At the same time, we're going to continue to make WAC better. We're going to continue to make it easier. But keep in mind, WAC is a stateless management tool, whereas VMM is something that, it's System Center is a rich enterprise set of management tools, completely stateful, as people know that have been using it, but they continue to be complementary. And I don't tell people to use one versus the other. I say, what is it you're trying to achieve, and let's find the right set of tools. And by the way, you can absolutely run System Center, Azure Portal, and Admin Center, because really they're all complementary. Admin Center does stuff that neither System Center nor Azure Portal can do.
All right, Rachel, whoever asked that question gets a Starbucks card, even though he didn't ask, but virtual is good. Mohi, you have a question.
Sure, it's for Jeff. So good question on join domain in the new WAC. Does this has to be the domain of where the hosts are? It could be any domain. And I just want to know in general, are all the assumptions based on that entire ecosystem will exist in a single domain, or could you actually have, because a lot of people want to do a split domain for the host versus the VMs. Is that scenario being handled and being planned for?
Yeah, so think about it as essentially what we're doing is we are putting a little automation wrapper around. You have a guest OS that's running in a VM that you want to domain join. We assume that guest can actually reach the domain controller so they can actually join the domain. That's really the only requirement. It's no different than if we actually went and RDP'd into the actual VM and actually went to system properties or brought up PowerShell and actually did a domain join. What we're doing is we're putting a wrapper so you don't actually have to RDP into it. So literally there's just a box there, type in your creds and go and do the rest, and we'll handle it for you. So you can think of it as just automating what's inside of the OS.
Mohi, for that awesome question, you actually get a thermo from DataON. because that question was so awesome. So instead of Starbucks, which is not worthy for you, you get a thermo this time, okay? Just so you know. So Mahi gets a thermo, okay. There's a lot of questions, but I want to take a step back. Let's do the other question. SE, who's SE? Oh, Steve. Steve, ask the question.
No, I was just wondering, Jeff, next version of Windows Server.
Yes.
Coming up soon.
Next version of Windows Server. So as I said on Twitter late in the middle of the night last night, somewhere around 3 or 4 in the morning.
I was thinking.
No worries. No, we are absolutely working on the next version of Windows Server. We already have, we announced it last Ignite, maybe even before that. And we have insider builds that are currently available. Because of kind of the limitations of Ignite, we're kind of limited in terms of the number of sessions that we can do and the amount of topics we can cover. We did a few sessions that covered Windows Server and Azure, but we are actually going to do a deep dive into Windows Server. In fact, let me quickly show something here so you guys can all see this. I'm going to share one more slide just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is the Windows Server Summit. This is coming up in late October, just so you guys can see. And this will be focused Windows Server and on our on-premises stuff. But absolutely, we're working on a new LTSC. That's in progress. You can download the insider builds. We'll have much more to talk about that in October. But we didn't announce any specific dates other than I can say we release every 2 to 3 years. We've been doing this for the last 20 years, and we are on target to do that again.
And Steve, for that awesome question, you're actually going to get a Intel Optane goodie bag. Inside of it, you have a book. You have a Starbucks card. You have sunglasses. You have other stuff. Just so you know, that's coming to you, Steve. See, so easy. Just like any event, just get stuff left and right.
Way to go.
Okay, let's keep on going with this. Okay, I'm gonna shift a little bit. Just share with you guys something here, if you guys don't mind. So DataON, as you guys know, are very much aligned with everything that's happening on our website today. Hold on one second. I'm gonna share this. Okay. On our website today, we just updated this for Ignite to make everything Virtual Experience Center. So what you could do is you could actually go here. There is a tab in our main page that says the Virtual Experience Center. So if you visit the Virtual Experience Center, it's going to go through and give you all the latest information about Azure Stack HCI. And in here, as you go down the list, you'll see that you can learn about Azure Stack HCI. We actually listed the latest performance data based on customers. We have so much performance data. We do that on the regular basis on newsletter. But what we did now is give it context. So now you have access to our real performance data. Then the last one is Meet with Us, right? So you see that there is a latest solution from DataON. You have all the new Azure Stack HCI videos. We review from storage review. In here, and this is exciting, aligning with Windows Admin Center, we have a little video here. DataON just released our version 3.3 of extension for WAC called MUST. In here, we added a new inventory page. This is something that all our customer has been asking, meaning that, hey, in addition to getting the performance data, the location of this, one of the biggest challenge we have is making sure that all our BIOS, our firmware, our driver are up to date, right? Making sure between the nodes, they're all the same. So what we've done is we have done a new inventory page, allows you to scan your current system, compare it to our cloud database to make sure you have the latest information. So if I play this video, which it doesn't come out very good, we won't do it. This video really goes through kind of very simply from Henry that says, hey, here's a new inventory page. You can scan, verify, compare your nodes. And once you've done that, you just have to download the latest WAC. You collect the system information, right? Once you have it, you have the entire inventory page. In here, it's a 2-node cluster. It shows you the latest Windows Server edition, right?
Oh, look at this.
Right? You look at all the OS build, the system, you have a BIOS, BMC, chipset, all the Intel SSD, what version it is. If it is up to date, it's good. But if we have a latest version that we have done a golden image, you have information that there's a latest option out there. If you look at adapters, if there's a difference between the two, disable link down, you have a RIP button that says, hey, look at your two nodes, make sure they're the same. It goes down to the adapter, network card, storage, SSD, hard drive. The entire system hardware now, you have ability to see in your inventory page in real time. So to us, this is a huge undertaking for the last 6 months from the DataON team. We're really excited to release it right before Ignite. All the customer today on this call, as you have the DataON cluster, you have the ability to download this and use it as additional page in your window admin center.
That is really slick, Howard.
All right, I'm excited.
Is that new to most people on the call? Have people seen this before?
I don't think so. I think I would say probably 10% of people know. So this is new, guys. Okay, and also on the bottom, you guys could also, because it's Ignite again, there is a register on the bottom where you can register into our lucky draw, which will be giving away what a Microsoft Surface Go 2. We're going to give away a Microsoft Surface Go 2. We gave away a bike last year, but we're going to give away a Microsoft Surface Go 2. And we'll give it away at the day that Microsoft decides to GA their Azure Stack HCI OS. That's the day that Jeff will pick it. And then we'll get a winner, then we'll send it out to you. Okay? So make sure you register.
It's a lot easier to ship a Surface Go versus a bicycle, too.
That's correct. So definitely register and do that. Okay, we have other questions. Let's continue. Tim, go ahead. Tim? Okay. Benjamin.
My mute is okay. There it goes. Hey, a great use of the performance of Azure Stack HCI is some type of VDI platform. Is there any plans for Microsoft allowing you to extend your WVD into Azure Stack HCI?
So that's very much something that we're having that conversation back at the office about. So yes, WVD is something that is growing like gangbusters, and people love the ability to be able to spin up and have that managed in the cloud. But we do know that people want this at the edge as well. So yeah, we've announced WVD is coming in the hub, and very much HCI is on that same path. We've got some work that we need to do in terms of, first of all, we got a GA HCI. We're on track for that. But yes, that is very much a conversation we're having. I'm kind of curious to know, is there a target scenario you're looking for? Is there a specific vertical you have in mind? Is it like retail? Is it branch office? Is it something specific, or is it just a general WVD play?
Yeah, I'm thinking about two different scenarios. One of those is, we've done several municipalities. This is a growing interest with municipalities because they're wanting to keep a lot of things on-prem and out of public cloud to have full control over it. And so they would love to be able to have this VDI platform that's right next to their servers, that, instead of it being, 30 milliseconds away, it is, way less than 1 millisecond away. And so to be able to put that infrastructure right next to it would be a big deal. And right now, all we can do is say, we can do RDS, but, VMware does, a lot more than that. And so I'd love to be able to say, or to know that, hey, it might be coming. This might be something that we could offer everything as a replacement for VMware. The second thing is in terms of medical records. If you're hosting these medical records, to be able to put this VDI platform right next to your SQL databases, if those SQL servers have to be on-prem. So that's what I'm thinking about, those too specific.
Thank you, and that's what I was getting at. And the second one is the one that I've heard more often than not, which is medical. Hospitals, they're like, look, we cannot take a hard dependency on the network for whatever reason. Some, it may be that they're already in a dodgy location, or hey, a hurricane, hits and network is down. So that's the one I hear, pretty prevalent. Just to be clear, I mean, and you're kind of seeing this with AKS on HCI. Here we are bringing the Kubernetes service, a cloud service, on-prem. So we very much want to do that. And what we're doing is we're looking at which services customers are asking about, which ones they're prioritizing, and we're making that internal prioritization ourselves. And I would definitely put WVD in that class.
Okay, great.
And Benjamin, for your great question, you get a DataON swag box, which is sponsored by DataON, Microsoft, Intel, Optane, Western Digital. In here, you have a lot of mysteries, including the mug. So you'll be getting this in the mail very soon. Okay, Benjamin?
All righty.
I see Ben Thomas made a comment 30 milliseconds away. I only wish I could be that close. Ben, what is your latency, if you don't mind me asking, ballpark?
Well, yeah, we're at least 45 seconds away because no data center in New Zealand, so we're going to go across to Australia.
Oh,
the country,
New Zealand.
Go over the ocean,
Yeah, so 45 milliseconds is probably best.
Yeah, well, from where I am in the country, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a perfect example. So yeah, we hear you, and we are, of course, working on offering services in New Zealand as well. But I totally hear you.
May I just add something to that? I think a key thing in order to do VDI on Azure Stack HCI is GPU partitioning support. And that's been, in going on for a long time. What's the state of that?
Well, we are absolutely working on it. So we were the first ones to do GPU para-virtualization with RemoteFX. We have discrete device assignment today with DDA. We have GPU partitioning that we brought to Azure Stack Hub. So we've been hard at work on it. We just have it's on the laundry list of things that we're working on. Yes, we're working on it for Stack HCI. No, I can't give you a date at this point, but you better believe we're working on it.
Yeah, we really need that.
I hear you loud and clear, and just to give you a little inside baseball, we were one of the pioneers in this. We actually sat down with a bunch of GPU manufacturers like ages ago, like we're talking nearly a decade ago when they first started talking about doing this. And one of the reasons why we did RemoteFX is because we had some serious security concerns about some of the very first releases of how people were thinking about doing GPU para-virtualization, GPU partitioning, and we were very concerned about how it was being done. So we actually spent a lot of time but no one has seen for many years actually working with them saying, look, we need something that's secure. We need something kind of follows the SRIOV model where there's actually a control plane and a data plane, and there's actually a clear separation of administrative duties and how resources are managed. And so, what we're seeing with GPU partitioning that's hit the industry now is, quite honestly, it's been many years of us quietly working with them to make sure we had the right infrastructure in place. So yes, we hear you. Yes, we have it in the cloud. We have it in Azure Stack Hub. Yes, we're working on and bringing it on-prem. I just don't have a date at this time.
Okay.
I still got to GA Azure Stack HCI first.
Yeah, okay.
Another promo. Whoever that is, you get a Starbucks customer. Are you in the US or are you somewhere else?
I'm in Norway, man. So
Norway. So
don't bother.
No. Access, Joost, you're our European partner. Make sure you send a gift card to Jorn. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
On behalf of DataON for sure. Okay.
And greetings in Norway, Bjorn.
Thank you.
Bjorn, can you leave your email in the chat box? Then?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
So I'm sharing another quick screenshot here. So this is also on our website. So we have a DataON Tech Lab, and the DataON Tech Lab is just all the tests we've been doing internally. One of the things that we found very useful is as we do all this testing, we want to just share data and what we have done to make sure the customer, the community, the technical people understands that we have done this once and this is the process we did it. This is a blog we just published on set up and demo the stretch cluster on Azure Stack HCI. If you guys don't know, it's one of the key features that they announced, and we're actually quite excited about it. And actually, many of our customers are really been asking about this feature for stretch cluster with DR. And what we done is we actually set up a 2 cluster. We did a stretch, and we did all the setup across the board. What are the challenges we face? So we did all that. So when you get a chance, take a look at it. I'm sure if you have more detailed question, the expert for stretch cluster, Mr. John Marlin's here. He can also answer those questions. There's a lot of great documentation on the Microsoft website, but we did this. It works perfectly. We love it. We're gonna deploy it hopefully for all the new cluster we do if they want stretch cluster. John, anything to add there?
John may have had to drop off. Oh, are you there?
No, I'm here.
There you are. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I was just muted. No, you pretty much hit it up.
Yeah.
Any questions? My email's in there.
Yeah.
I'm available anytime to talk to anybody.
All right. So I think for me, one thing that's important, I think hasn't been highlighted as we get closer to the GA day of Azure Stack HCI OS, Jeff. Clearly, Windows Admin Center is one of the key pillars of making this a true hybrid cloud technology. What kind of feedback have you been getting from other customers you're talking to about the new product in Azure? Can you give us some anecdotal discussion with customers?
Yeah, a couple of different things. Number one, when I look at the overall, there were a lot of questions initially about, okay, wait a minute, we're the Azure hype, the delivered as an Azure service thing. I think that's generated just a ton of questions, and we've had even our own internal folks. I've had a bunch of field folks have reached out going, I don't understand what that means. What does that mean for an on-prem product? And once you actually go and show, well, here it is, Azure Stack HCI as a resource in Azure, and that whole notion of as I plug in my new Azure Stack HCIs, they all appear, and now I can apply ARM constructs, Azure Resource Manager constructs, tagging, categorization, my subscription billing, all of those things are just appearing in one control plane there. Like the moment you see it, it's like all the lights go off. I could explain, it's a service, and we have this integration with Azure built into the Stack HCI bits. There's no, additional agents or PowerShell scripts or any of that. I can explain all that, but once you actually see it on the screen, you go, no, that's Azure, but those are all of my Azure Stack HCIs in 5 different cities, and I can see, their usage, their monitoring, all of these things, and once we, start to explain, here's the vision. By the way, you're running that kube on-prem, and now we've got this kube running on preview on this Stack HCI, and you can actually deploy there too, then the lights go on. So that one has just been an absolute home run. People are loving that. Then there's also been the question about, and I was just answering this one a little bit while ago, someone was asking about, what's the status of Hyper-V in Windows Server? Are you going to take it out now that you're saying you're focused on Stack HCI? First of all, nothing that's in Windows Server is being taken out. So S2D is staying in there, Hyper-V is staying in there. That's all staying in there. Okay, so that's not being removed. What we are doing though is what we're saying future innovation is going in the Stack HCI, and a perfect if that is the stretch clustering. This is what we are putting more work there, and we're going to be doing innovating there. Whereas in Windows Server, it's about the runtime and about making sure we're doing the right things for applications like SQL Server and things like that, and .NET and stuff like that. And so you're going to see us do that so we can focus on that. And at the same time, part of our goal here is to get all of the software-defined technologies, the hypervisor, the storage, and networking, and get it out to more people. Because if you look today, the data center costs right off the bat, you're talking many thousands of dollars just to get all of those capabilities in data center. Whereas if you just want to deploy 2 DataON nodes and run a couple of Windows Server VMs and a couple Linux VMs and still take advantage of all of this, we're saying, yeah, it's $10 per core per month. And you don't have a huge upfront cost. And by the way, it can be part of your Azure bill. Once you explain it that way, it's like, well, that makes a lot of sense because it's just all part of my cloud estate, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. So like I said, the whole notion of explaining how it's delivered as a service. It's a new conversation. We've never done this before, but everybody, for the most part, seems to be like, wow, this is really great. I really understand how this goes. The whole notion of Azure Stack HCI, we wanted to live something that's super focused on infrastructure. Whereas Windows Server has been a Swiss Army knife, which does lots of different things and has done that really well. We want something that is focused on this thing just rocks on infrastructure for VMs, and now of course for containers as well. And so, you know, those are some of the big things. And of course for Admin Center, we're just going to continue innovating. We're still on a rapid tear. My one thing I have to constantly remind people, you know, there's always a feature we didn't get. You know, I released Admin Center, and I'm not kidding. Within 2 hours, someone came up with the, oh man, you didn't do that. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. You know, there's always a feature we don't get, but we have 20 years of innovation behind the legacy MMC tools. We have 3 years of innovation with Admin Center, and there are so many things you can do to Admin Center that you could never even remotely do with the MMC tools. So we're going to continue to innovate as fast as we can. I promise the list is really long, but we are working through a bunch of different things. And so the other benefit of Admin Center is we can innovate quickly there, and we're not tied to a Windows release or an Azure Stack HCI release. We made the promise, you know, we made the public promise that, you know, our goal with Admin Center is to release twice a year, at least, you know, and we've stuck to it. And in fact, this year we actually did 3 releases. But our goal is 2 releases a year, and we're going to continue to deliver innovation. And as we do it, you don't have to touch your server. So even when you deploy Azure Stack HCI, guess what? When we release a new version of Admin Center, you're probably going to get a whole bunch of new features that just roll in because they were built into the platform, but we didn't have the management in there yet. And you're just going to see us deliver more and more features. And so this gives you guys an easy way to get new features, get new value on Azure Stack HCI without, oh my gosh, I've got to go reinstall the OS, I've got to go do a bunch of things. And so we think this is, you know, this is a really good paradigm, and this is a paradigm we want to be in.
We have a question from Malcolm. Malcolm, welcome. You can ask your questions.
Thank you. Currently, our company or so, we have an infrastructure team that that manages our infrastructure or so, and a set of other teams or so that deploy the VMs for our customers as a managed service provider. We mainly use SCVMM for this. I know that with Azure Stack HCI, so you are developing ways to deploy VMs to the HCI clusters. But are you planning in some way to have the ability to have some more abstraction to give teams the ability to deploy VMs or so, but not having to target a specific host, or like you currently can do with SCVMM?
Oh, you mean like when you deploy a VM, have it automatically choose the best host in a cluster?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So we actually do that already today. So when you create a new virtual machine using Admin Center, when you go through the deployment wizard, it'll actually choose the best host for you. So when you create a new VM and deploy it, it'll actually look at the host, look at the cluster, and figure out which one is the best one to deploy the VM to. So it'll automatically do that when you deploy it, and then as you continue to run, of course, load balancing is built in. So over time, if things change, for example, if a bunch of VMs, if you have a 3-node cluster and node 1 gets really hot, guess what? We will automatically load balance and move those over to nodes 2 and 3. So that's something we already do. So we do it once at deployment, and then we have continuous load balancing that will automatically move it for you. And so the goal is you shouldn't have to go find this out yourself. You should just deploy the VM and we'll handle it for you.
Okay, but what if you take it one step further or so? For instance, we have like 20 or 30 clusters or so, and currently from SCVMM or so, our team member or so can deploy a VM and just get deployed on a cluster instead of having to target a specific cluster.
Right. And so that's a perfect example of the difference between System Center and Admin Center. So System Center is, you just said it, you got 20 to 30 clusters. So Admin Center today can actually see a specific cluster and see and the specific nodes within a cluster. But you're right, intra cluster, that's not something it can do today. And that's something we could definitely look at as delivering through our integration with Azure Stack HCI via Arc into Azure. That's something we could look at there. Or System Center could be that way that you can do it at the data center landscape. Right now, that's a very interesting request. I haven't heard that before, but that's something we could, like I said, that's something we could very much deliver through our integration with the Azure Stack resource in Azure, but currently not something we can do today.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Malcolm. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Put your email in the chat. We'll send you a Starbucks gift card.
Okay,
where are you based?
Netherlands.
Netherlands. We will hand deliver for you for our partner Access based in Netherlands, Amsterdam. They will hand deliver, drive over to you, and actually give you a gift, a bag with all the tchotchkes inside.
I really miss the Ignite tour in Amsterdam. That
was really a good one.
The Ignite tour in Amsterdam is fantastic. I've been going to Amsterdam for many years. My wife actually has family there, so I always see them at least once while I'm there and have dinner with them and catch up with them. So greetings to everyone in the Netherlands, and again, thanks for the question, Malcolm.
All right, we got one. I can't keep track of the questions. There's a lot of questions. Anybody else has a question they just want to speak out here? Let me see. I'll look at the chat room here real quick. Oh, John's been just responding. John, you're just a crazy person.
Yeah, I see John is answering a bunch of cluster set questions. Way to go, John.
Yeah. I'm answering everything I can.
Way to go, John.
Wow.
Thank you. I see we got a number of good stretch cluster questions. I'm very happy to see that. I can tell you right off the bat that is something that customers are really excited about. I'm glad DataON, you guys have been testing it and put your information up in that blog. We really appreciate that partnership and the tools and tricks that you can provide. I spoke to a number of customers who already, once I told them this, they were like, well, wait a minute, you've always had this. You could do this. I said, no. Well, we've only worked with SANs. We've never had this with HCI. And then the light went on immediately, like, wait a minute, you can do this with software-defined storage? I'm like, yeah, it's all built in. They're like, where do we get this again? So yeah, it's a highly coveted feature that we're bringing to Stack HCI.
I'm gonna have to ask this question again, Jeff. I know you answered it last time about a month and a half ago, but as we engage with new customer, this question is continuously coming up, and my answer has always been fuzzy. The answer is today they're looking at deploy a Azure Stack HCI cluster on Windows Server 19. Azure Stack OS is coming into this year, whenever that is. If they chose to go to the new one, is there a upgrade path that Microsoft could offer? And that question has come up at least 20 times in the last month. And I just said, my answer is, I'm sure eventually we'll figure it out, but I don't have a definitive answer at this time.
Yes, I wish there was an easy answer for that right now. So at the moment, we are working on a way that will easily get your VMs from 2019 to Stack HCI. We have, even though the Hyper-V technology is the same underneath the covers, there are licensing challenges as well as legal considerations we have to give when you're moving cross-product. So going from Windows Server to Azure Stack HCI, we're looking at what is the frictionless way, the best possible way we can do that as fast as possible, whether it's an export or import or what that looks like. And it's something we are very much trying to figure out right now to deliver that migration path as easy as possible. And if it sounds like I'm speaking in riddles, I apologize. It's really more of a legal cross-product challenge than anything else. This is one of those things where engineers go, well, we know exactly how to solve this, but lawyers say, well, you can't exactly do it the way you think you want to. So we are figuring out what that way is, and when we do, we will have it available. Our goal is to make it, something we can deliver through Admin Center, so it's point and click as easy as possible, whether it's a workflow or it's click a VM and say, hey, just move it over there. We're working on that, but there's nothing specific I can tell you today. Trust me, it's top of mind for us as well.
And one thing to share to all the customer is that all the current validated nodes that DataON offer today will and is certified by the new Azure Stack HCI. So even if the customer deploy DataON node today on Windows 19, if there's a way for DataON for us to migrate your workload temporarily for another node, then repurpose or reinstall the entire OS on that node, your hardware itself is already certified. There isn't any change to your hardware, just so you guys know that. So there isn't a transition point where, hey, this hardware is not certified or this node's not certified for the new Azure Stack HCI. All the current portfolio that DataON have on the catalog today will be certified exactly for the new Azure Stack HCI.
And that's really a fantastic story, and it's a tribute to the great support you guys do at DataON. So thank you for that. We've been working in close partnership. When it comes to validated solutions, we wanted to make sure we were able to move as many as over. And I wish every one of our OEM partners could say with the certainty that Howard just gave you that 100% of our solutions do. Not every OEM is committed. You know, most of them are in the high 80s to 90%, but 100%, like Howard just said, that's not the case across the entire OEM board. So thank you, Howard and the DataON team for that.
No problem. See, there's another question out there. I think I missed Tim earlier. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's a question in there for you.
Okay, I love.
I saw it a minute ago.
I hope it's a tough one.
It's about Must.
Go ahead. Let me see here. Must. Whoever type it, you can speak out. Can't find it.
Hey, Howard, it's Sean.
I think that's my question.
Sean Leonard?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, you're scaring me. Go ahead, please.
So my question was regarding the Must extension and whether or not you have any plans to try to integrate Intel firmware and hardware, you know, driver updates into it.
Oh my God, I knew you were gonna go there. But wait, did you come in late, or are you here the whole time?
No, I've been trolling this whole meeting.
Okay, but so you do know that we have an inventory page, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Saw that.
So half a battle is done. Let's start with that. The reason we launched it is to show all of you that we'll have the ability to scan everything you have today. So all your K2M 108 you have in the 15 sites today, you should have the ability to know exactly what a firmware driver using Must and using that inventory page. The second question you have is, okay, once we have that, what's the ability for us to update that seamlessly, right, without me having to take a cluster down? It's a great question, and I'm going to answer it two ways. First is, we haven't spent a lot of time, Jeff, on the difference between an integrated system and a validated node. I know you guys haven't spent a lot of time on it, and I think the difference between an integrated system and validated node from a Microsoft perspective is the fact that with the integrated system, you have the ability to do seamless hardware update through clusterware update. That's one of the features. There are many other features for support services that we could do this. And to answer your question, Sean, we could do it, right? We have the technology software to make it work. And the next question is, which one we're going to apply it to, right? So clearly, with your solution, our goal is if we could validate it on those two server nodes, we should have the ability to give it to the other nodes as well, because the software is done. By the time the integrated system launch, which we're supporting, that technology, that services is available, now becomes a discussion between us and the customer. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
The answer is, because we're launching integrated system means that we have the ability to upgrade firmware software regardless. Yep. Right? That's the answer. Whether or not it's integrated and validated, no, it doesn't matter because it's the hardware, right? But because the way that we're engaging with the launch of Microsoft is only available at that time with integrated system.
Okay.
So
I guess on that, yeah. So that, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but one of the biggest pain points for us really is keeping the firmware, those updates on any kind of cycle, because it's a very manual process right now. And when you've got, I think we have 18 clusters, it's really tedious to have to go through and individually update, every single,
Have you looked at
the
using
VMCs
cluster-aware
and all.
updating to do it?
So say again.
Have you looked at using cluster-aware updating to push out your firmware
Or
and drivers?
he's talking about hardwares and firmwares and drivers. He's talking about that, Ben.
Yeah.
You can use, so I mean, we're not doing it with DataON, but we can push out drivers and firmware using cluster-aware updating today. So the cluster-aware updating has two plugins. One's the Windows Update plugin, which will just call Windows Update, and the other one is the hotfix plugin. And the hotfix plugin will actually do anything you want. It just executes commands on the cluster nodes. So if you can run a driver install silently, you can use the cluster updating to run that driver install across all of your nodes with pausing and draining and all that kind of stuff.
So I have not done that. What I guess maybe I'm looking for an easy button because today it's a manual process to even find out what versions of the drivers are updated and what, that's kind of a really manual process. It'd be nice to have some kind of, and I don't want to hijack this meeting, but
you're not. And just so you know, Sean, actually your name and your company came up in my conversation with my team about this topic. The discussion is, everybody sitting here, 30 plus people here, a lot of them are awesome value customers. And many of you have many clusters in the environment, right? The fact that all the nodes that you have today will become a validated node for Azure Stack HCI OS just means that whatever software we have applied to should have the ability to work with you as long as we put more work into it. Right. So we need to figure that out to address your needs, because that is absolutely, I believe, one of the biggest, from our perspective, challenge that we're solving for our customer today is that regular update, use the hardware and driver and firmware using the flow from Microsoft CAU clusterware update, where it's seamless in the background. You just click a button, you pick what you want, and you should do it behind the background seamlessly. Go get a BIOS driver for latest. You pick you want, and it does it by itself. I believe you'll solve a lot of your pain point, and we need to have that discussion for sure, Sean.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, because that is the only I guess I won't say negative, but the only pain point really for us with the solution is that piece of it.
And thanks to Microsoft, let's give credit where credit is due. Their key value here is they're orchestrating the whole thing, right? They have a process to orchestrate this, just like the clusterware update for Windows. Now they're orchestrating this for the hardware firmware driver. So it allows us to plug into it to make it work.
Well, this is very much a partner. This is very much partnership. This is not just us. Yeah, we're doing a lot of work, but you guys are working very closely with us, and you're doing the heavy lift with us, Howard. So you're being humble, and I appreciate that. But no, this is really a lot of work that we're doing together. And going back to an earlier question you asked me, I was remiss in not pointing this out. This is absolutely one of the other top features that people are loving about the whole new Azure Stack HCI is the hardware integration from this standpoint. Sean, everyone commiserates with the whole, oh man, you're patching the OS, but what about the rest of it? What about the firmware? What about the drivers? What about BIOS? What all about those things? I mean, half the time it's just trying to find everything. So, some vendors are better than others. Some are really good about it. Some have got some work to do. And the goal here is like, literally, I shouldn't have to hunt and peck. They should have put it all in one recipe, one package that I can download. And guess what? It's all deployed together, so they don't have a mishmash of, hey, the BIOS is upgraded, but the NIC firmware isn't. And did anybody ever test and validate that configuration? Likely not. So you want to make sure that you move from one completely validated solution for all the NICs and firmware and drivers to the next completely validated and not something in the middle. It's when you get in those middle situations and configurations that nobody's ever seen before, that's when you start to see reliability challenges. And that's a key learning we have from Azure, from learning in the cloud that we've been bringing on premises. We know how important it is to have homogeneous hardware layer. Howard, I hate to say this, but I have got to run. I've got to get to my next meeting.
No problem.
It's still busy for us here at Ignite, but I cannot say thank you enough to you, the whole DataON team, and everyone on the virtual meetups. This is one of my high points of the month. I always love having these conversations. There was a question, Bronson had a question about AMD nested. I may not be up on the latest. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So John and I will take a look into that and make sure we're giving you the right answer. So assume we don't know and because the last thing I want to do is give you the wrong answer. But
actually,
yes.
I actually just verified it. I verified it with Cosmos. No.
Okay.
Not there.
Perfect. Thanks,
Jeff.
I want to double check. I've got to run, guys. Thank you very much. And again, see you guys at the next one.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey guys, the party continues. Just so you guys missed it, everybody gets a DataON shirt. Just put it on the chat, your email address, then we'll send it to you. Someone like Sean, you probably had to say how many people's in your IT team, like 5, we're to send you 5. So we can't just send you 1. It won't be unfair. So you know, you guys know us. We're not very stingy or shy giving away stuff. So let us know what you need and we'll take care of it. Okay.
Say, Howard, are we going to see a line of AMD servers with Radeon GPUs coming from DataON so that when we do have this nice feature of GPU pair virtualization, we'll be able to order our servers through you?
Currently, not in the short term at this time, because you have no idea how much work our R&D team today is working on this new integrated system, and whatever Sean is describing, it has consumed our development team to make sure everything works properly, and that's our priority one. I think the next refresh would be the Ice Lake Whitney for Intel. After that, then we'll decide whether or not we'll bring AMD. But at this time, we don't have any major plan, to be honest, be direct about it.
Well, how about GPUs on Intel systems then?
GPL on Intel system works today as a PCI plugin, but how are you going to use it with Microsoft Azure Stack HCI is the question. We actually deployed already GPU on Azure Stack HCI as a test for a couple of customers already who wants to do RDS, VDI stuff. So we've done it for 1 or 2 customers, but from the official support perspective, I don't think Azure Stack HCI today is taking full advantage of GPU as I know it. But it works because it's a PCI card, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think, you know, some of that enablement rests on Microsoft's shoulders to get that GPU partitioning going. And I'm a bit disappointed that they enable it for Azure Stack Hub and not for HCI at this point, which means they have the code. So we'll see.
Yeah, John's here. He knows it's a question of, you know, you can't put everything at the same time, right? And the fact that they're taking it one at a time, the fact that they put Kubernetes on there now, the fact that they added all these features, it just seems like whatever Microsoft service and feature they have in Azure today have the ability to come down to on-premises once it's time, right? So it just got for us to go influence the Microsoft team to say this is a requirement for our customers and you need to do it. I'm sure Microsoft have the ability to do it once it's time. So that's up to us to go push them, for sure. Okay. Any other questions? Who wants a free Starbucks card? You gotta raise your hand. 1. Okay, so if you want a free Starbucks card, all you do is again put on chat, I want a free Starbucks card. And you'll get a free Starbucks card with your email. We'll mail it to you. Okay, that's how easy. This is why I want to make sure you guys come to this event, because I want to get that feeling of that you're in an event where everything is free. It's all regular tchotchke. So I'm excited. I can't believe that I haven't seen you guys for so long. I can't wait until all this blows over so we can see each other and at Ignite events. Can't wait. Continue to wait for new stuff coming out. I'm excited about the Azure Stack HCI OS launch end of this year. Once it's done, then we're ready to engage with you guys. You know how to reach us. If you have any questions, just email us and email everybody you know at DataON, and we'll respond to you. Okay, guys, have a great day. Have a great summer and fall. Go ahead.
Hey, real quick, Howard.
Yep.
I want to put this to bed once and for all.
Okay.
Jeff's been answering this. I've been answering it on the phones, in the email, on Twitter, and everything else. Let me share this.
Okay.
Real quick. Okay. You see everything?
I can see you try to share something, but it hasn't come up yet.
Now it's up.
I haven't seen it, but okay. I don't see it.
Windows
but, okay,
Insider.
now I see it. I see it now. I see it.
You need better internet, Howard.
Go ahead,
So,
John.
this is Windows Server.
Yep.
It's a newer build that's not yet out on the Insiders, but it's available. But it's there in Insiders now. Version 2004. It's not Windows 2019 or anything else. This is one of the Insiders builds.
Yep.
I create my cluster. Storage spaces direct is in Windows Server. It is not getting removed. Those nasty rumors about it not being there or it going to be removed is totally false. It's there. So I just want to put this to bed. It's there. We're not removing it. It's safe. It's not going anywhere.
Good. Good to know that.
And we'll catch up here in a minute.
John, are you now recommended a distributed management point network type for S2D clusters?
That's just what I chose That's just what I chose. Because I was just doing something up real quick. If you notice, it's just a one node cluster. So I don't want to mess with IPs or anything else. I just want to get it up real quick, and I did this in about 5 minutes.
Is that a supported configuration though?
For storage spaces direct, one node cluster, no. Bell cluster, yes. But not storage spaces direct.
So for our Fabric hypervisor clusters, we can now use a distributed management point type?
Correct.
Oh,
You could, and we added that in 2019.
Is there a way to migrate safely a cluster from a single management IP to a distributed management IP?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, once it's of type distributed, then it has to be recreated to make it different. Now you can go from DNS to AD without having to redo it, but for the type distributed or singleton is the other option. That's rebuilding the cluster.
Okay. We got a couple of questions actually. Alex, go ahead. Alex, do you have a question?
It's already my question, I believe. But anyway, I just ask if you have easy migration path from another virtualization platform.
Migrate like a VMware platform to a Hyper-V platform? Is that what your question is?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Can you repeat your question, Alex?
Okay, I just ask if you have easy migration path from another virtualization platform, not Hyper-V, because there's a number on the market, as you know.
I did not get that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question either.
Maybe.
Your cluster is kind of it's, from my understanding, it's Hyper-V based, correct? It's Microsoft platform. But
yes.
If we have another virtualization platform and we would like to migrate to your platform, for example, you have easy migration path because it's not always compatible. For example, VMware or like it's a Linux virtualization and number of another virtualization.
Okay, I think I answered. I think I knew your question. There's two questions within your questions. Number one question is today you're running. Let's use the example. Today you're running a VMware, and you want to you want to move to Azure Stack HCI infrastructure. And the first question is, if I get it correctly, is can you run VMware ESX on top of Azure Stack HCI as an infrastructure? The short answer is, if you have an iSCSI amount, maybe something, you may be able to do it, but I don't think that's what people here does. Majority of people on Azure Stack HCI today are running Hyper-V. And John, I could be wrong, but I do know that if you really want to run VMware and on the Azure Stack OS as an infrastructure, there is like an iSCSI target that you could look at and make it work, but it's not optimal. That's kind of the short answer I have. Is that correct, John?
Right, and that wouldn't be something you'd want to do with Azure Stack HCI. Windows Server, yes, but not Azure Stack HCI.
Okay,
it's totally for running the VMs themselves with the Hyper-V platform.
Yeah, so for Windows Server, there's an opportunity, but the new Azure Stack HCI OS is Hyper-V. Okay, that's the first answer. Second answer you have is, if I want to go from a VMware infrastructure today to Azure Stack HCI in Hyper-V, is there a way to migrate? The short answer, if that's your question, the short answer is absolutely. There's so many ways of doing it. You're looking at people here probably does it on a regular basis, and there's tools out there like Veeam, Backup Replicate, what's that, 5 Nines software. There's plenty of software out there that allows you to convert VMware ESX VMs into Hyper-V VM, making sure that all the bits inside is correct. But that's very, very doable. We do that on a regular basis.
Yes, thank you. I will see some recommendation. Let's start with. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. And good question. Put your email there. We'll send you a gift card. Thank you so much. Any other questions? It's been great, guys. Again, sorry we couldn't see each other at night, but I think this at least gives us a taste what it could be like in 6 months, a year from now. Email us, email John if you have any Microsoft questions, email us if you have any questions. Happy to engage, and looking forward to see you guys all soon. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thanks, Howard. See you later, buddy.
Thanks.
Thanks.